Hello, everybody. This is Jack Maseka with Moving into the Future. Today, we are joined by Greg Gong, Director of Technology Services at the Advance Group, where we're going to continue our conversation on the return to office and discuss some of the IT and technological aspects of the return and how Greg and the Advance Group can help. Greg, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, this is great. This is our first virtual guest, which is quite fitting considering you are the Director of Technology Services. This is an exciting new frontier for us doing this digitally. So why don't we get started and have you tell us how you started at the Advance Group, because one of the really interesting things to me was the fact that we had this technology division already established, which is very unique for a moving and furniture installation company. So how did it get started, and what is your vision for the department?
Sure. So I think I started out in probably about 2017. I met Jeff through a couple of friends, and we just started talking. I started letting him know what I was doing, and he said, he was trying to start a technology division. And I was telling him how I was doing all these moves for companies of my own clients or people that I was referred to. And I was pretty much doing a lot of like the build out and moving the computers, setting up infrastructure. And it was kind of like a match made in heaven. And it's just, I had a piece of the puzzle that he needed. And we ended up referring a lot of work back and forth. And I was just referring him to move to do the move. And he was referring me to do all the tech work. And that's pretty much how it started. And, we've done a lot of different projects since. We've done a lot of like Fortune 500 companies where I had guys on site for weeks at a time, just setting up technology. And we've done on other sites where we were, pulling low voltage cabling, set up audio visual, video conferencing, and the whole nine.
Right, because that is one thing that I learned during my time away from the service end is how connected the IT aspect and the moving and installation aspects are. So it certainly makes sense, and it provides a lot of value to our clients now to so they know that they're really have a one-stop shop in terms of technology, moving, furniture installation, cleaning. It really helps in that regard. So in terms of what we've been seeing recently with the return to office, how have you been specifically servicing clients and helping them, during this time with the working from home and things of that nature?
Sure. So the return to office, we've been seeing a lot of companies. They're spreading people out. A lot of the larger companies are putting more desks in, but keeping social distancing rules in effect. So they're kind of moving people around, trying to change it from if it's a pot of 6 people, they're rotating them. They have the screens up now. Sometimes they're moving people around if they have a little extra space and just spacing people out a little further from each other. The good thing is what we've seen since the pandemic is a lot of people are more intrigued to go to the cloud now. And, I kind of see a hybrid setup where, only some people are coming into the office. Some people are going to stay at home. We're setting up a lot of more smaller huddle spaces inside of a lot of offices today where, instead of like the bigger, larger conference rooms of the 10 plus people, we've seen a lot of clients chop them in half and kind of, put them down to half the size and keeping groups down lower. I don't know the rhyme and reasoning behind it, but, we're helping getting them set up in that direction.
Yeah, and that's really the interesting part too, is the rhyme and reason. I think this is all new frontier for everybody. No one knew this was coming, and everybody is kind of working in some sense of trial and error. But what you mentioned before is something I've always wondered about and I'm very interested in, is getting these companies set up on the cloud and with employees not just working from home, but maybe even working in other states or in a shared office space or something along those lines. How have you handled those challenges with companies to make sure that their information is staying private and protected and things of that nature?
We're just trying to understand their business case and how they're using technology, and we're putting processes and protocols around in place, and even setting up policies for them to keep their information secure, making sure they're with the right cloud provider, This it's very intricate and there's a lot of moving pieces to it. So the more we understand about their business, and a lot of the time it's really speaking with them and finding out how they use technology for their business on a day-to-day basis, and where it's being stored. That's pretty much how we're doing it today.
Right. And that's another interesting point in terms of how they're using technology, because with this evolution of the workplace and doing things a little differently, like we were talking about, what I've been seeing internally is a lot of companies setting up these more functional meeting spaces or collaborative open meeting spaces where they can, have a rolling TV and, logging to Zoom from there and stuff like that. Is that a big change, in terms of setting that stuff up, or is it pretty standard to, setting a typical conference room up?
It's pretty standard. It just depends what the company standards are. A lot of the equipment is, if they have equipment where they're saying, hey, huddle room equipment, it's all this standardized equipment. A medium-sized conference room is this standardized equipment, and a large conference room are these standardized equipment list. And so it's pretty simple. A lot of it's plug and play, but like everything else, it takes time. And one of the crazy things is this chip shortage that's going on today. And these video conferencing solutions and even computers, they're just so hard to get right now. There's long lead times, at least 2+ weeks.
Right. And
More.
That's something we've been managing as well, is really that receiving those products into our warehouse and then delivering them to site and installing them with our IT team, your team. That's really proven to be a big help for a lot of our clients, because they don't need to rely on these shippers whoever is shipping the technology directly to site, and having, a representative from the company on site who may not typically be there because they're working from home. And then what we've also been seeing, which is very troubling, and I feel terrible, is it's a drop shipment where, they'll drop off the pallets of however many monitors, 50, 100, and they don't move them upstairs. So, the poor representative for the company is kind of stuck there. This is why we've really been pushing to have those items, computers, monitors, phones, all of the HDMI cables, whatever it may be, delivered to our warehouse first, because we can easily receive them, inventory them, inspect them for any damages, and then once we approve them all, deliver them to site at the client's convenience whenever works best for them, and then easily install them. Have you been seeing a lot of those projects on your end with your clients?
It's starting to pick up now. Prior, it was, wasn't so busy. It was a lot of a mad rush of getting everybody up and working from home. I would say March 2019, that's what pretty much happened. We got a lot of client calls saying, hey, we need help with VPNs. We need help moving this to the cloud. We need help with getting Zoom set up for an organizational worldwide. And, it was, we had some techs even run by some people's houses to get, their executives online and the whole nine. So that was the first part of COVID. And, today it's more of getting the office ready and making sure that they have all the parts ready and they're good to go. We've seen some people, downsize their office space because, they don't need it, and they're going to a hybrid model. And we've done that. And, we set them up for success where they could work from home and they could have a smaller office footprint. But we've also seen the flip side where the larger companies, they got more office space because they're like, listen, if we have to keep everybody 6 feet apart, we need a little more space. So we've seen each end of the spectrum.
Exactly. And that's another interesting question I have. So when you have a situation where a company is downsizing and they may be taking, less space for themselves, but also opening up a hybrid office in a co-working space or flexible space such as that, and then also have employees working from home. Is it difficult to set that up in the cloud and having multiple locations like that? Or how long does it take? What does that process look like? I think that'll be very valuable for our listeners to hear.
Sure. I mean, the process isn't so hard. It's really finding the right solution for the client, really understanding how their business workflow is. And once we understand that, we could definitely move it Some stuff like migrating data, I mean, that could take a very long time. But there are ways around it where we can get them set up and we can migrate data on the back end, and they won't really see too much loss of time or workflow being affected. It's just really understanding the client. So the more that we know about them, the more we know what direction to put them in, and we could set a project plan together and really push them forward into the cloud 100%.
And how long does that typically take? Like when you say understanding their business and function, are you getting in touch with them a month out, 3 months out to start this planning? What does that look like?
I mean, obviously the more time, the better.
Right.
But we've been stuck in situations where clients are like, "Hey, we need this right away, and we just need to open it up." And we would have, a couple of conversations for a couple hours long, and just really asking the questions about, "Hey, is this what do you need done? And how much data do you have? And how many users are going to be into this program and solution?" So. It really depends on the client. We've done some really fast turnkey jobs, but obviously the more time, the better. I would say about a month to a couple of months is usually better, really, to get all your ducks in a row, make sure all the stones are left unturned. But there was that mad rush back in March of 2019, April 2019, where everybody was like, "Listen, we just need to be on this thing ASAP. We know there's problems and we'll work through it as we come along." So, obviously we got calls all throughout the day and the night because, things weren't planned as accordingly. And, it was pretty much shooting from the hip, but we got it done. We got it to the finish line.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of the name of the game with this, as far as, working on tight deadlines and things of that nature. How do you find it valuable working in a group like the Advanced Group, where we all working together with the moving, with the furniture installation, with the IT? What type of efficiencies do you see, with this unique setup that we have?
Sure. I mean, it's pretty much one throat to choke, right? I mean, there's usually a tech PM on site, there's usually a move PM on site, usually a furniture lead on site. And, we all know the players of the game. And for us, if we're pulling in low voltage data wires into furniture, or if we're, doing electrical whips while they're putting the furniture together, I mean, all our ducks in a row. I mean, before that, I'm sure, things were, certain trades weren't showing up. They weren't able to get certain guys. I mean, right there, we eliminated two different trades, the low voltage rendered electrical guy. So you eliminate two other companies that are on site right there. And it's a lot easier to get a hold of me than it is some people at some other companies, because they're just backed up on a whole bunch of different jobs. And while they're doing that, we might be putting monitor arms on desks, other peripherals, connecting phones, getting docks together, getting computers installed. It just ranges on what the client wants. We've been through so many different situations, so it's just really ease of mind with just dealing with us, because there's just a lot less of us on site, a lot of different companies, less companies on site.
Yeah, I've certainly mentioned that a lot, where having all of the departments that we just mentioned in terms of moving furniture, IT, also office cleaning under one roof is so important, because it creates so many efficiencies like you just mentioned. And, I really try to emphasize that to new clients and on this podcast. So I think it's really important for you to say that and to hear it from somebody other than myself.
Yeah. One other thing that I've noticed is, definitely bring me into the room. A lot of clients, sometimes they forget a lot of different technologies. I've walked in on sites where a lady goes, "Oh, I forgot to sign up for internet at the new location." And she's like, "I'm moving in 2 weeks. What do I do?" And I was like, "Listen, I'll handle it. We have all the capabilities. I know what kind of fibers in buildings and and providers as well." So, it's definitely, a different perspective that I bring to the table with a lot of clients when they bring me on site from the tech side.
Right. And that is very valuable. And one of the things I've always talked about too is our consulting abilities at the Advanced Group, not just locally, but also, nationally and globally. And I know you do a lot of national work and have national clients where you manage multiple offices. Talk a little bit more about that. How's that gone for you? What are some efficiencies that are created through that process?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we do work nationally. So just to give you a rundown of the list of the services that we offer, we do the low voltage cabling, access control, wireless, CCTV. We could help companies get internet inside of their buildings. We could help them get data centers all around the world if they need racks, if they need cages, pretty much the whole nine, any kind of connectivity. So we're always a good place to start. I'm very knowledgeable about, what a client could need as long as they're willing to take the time of day to speak with me and to kind of express what their difficulties are. If they're having slowness, if they're saying, hey, this cloud solution is, we're missing a couple of features here. Does it have it in there, or do we have to move to a different company, a different cloud provider? So, definitely, coming through us, if you're a company that has projects going on throughout the world, we can handle it. We got local boots on the ground in almost every major city and even some rural cities as well. So it just really depends. As long as they're willing to talk to me, I tell everybody, listen, I literally look over about 4 to 5 moves every weekend that are going off, and to me, your move is just another move. No offense, but that's how much we've been ingrained on it. And I have a punch list that I go through of just making sure they have all their ducks in a row.
Right. And especially coming out of this pandemic, I think it's going to be incredibly important for companies to act efficiently, because as we mentioned before, there is going to be a lot of trial and error. So having companies that you're working with, such as the Advance Group, who can provide a lot of very valuable information from a consultative standpoint and then execute on your needs regardless of location nationally, is incredibly valuable, or globally for that matter. Really, really helps make things happen efficiently and quickly within reason. And I know that's certainly what we try to do on the moving and furniture end, and you do yourself on the IT end. Now just pivoting it a little bit, where do you see, the future of the office space? I think we both agree it's definitely be hybrid and remote, but how do we see technology helping in that regard? What type of softwares do you think are going to be very valuable to companies and things of that nature?
Sure. I mean, the Zooms of the world is not going away. I'm feeling that's going to grow, that's going to increase. You're going to see better features and functionality with all of that. All types of collaboration software, any kind of cloud-based software, they're improving. They see, if you just look at Microsoft, Google, Amazon, cloud services is rising year over year, quarter over quarter. They're just trying to make it bigger, better, and faster at this point. So you're going to see a lot of companies go very hybrid. You're going to see a lot of cloud solutions. They're going to change. They're going to become better. And with all this competition, we're going to see some pretty amazing innovation. And I say it's going to happen within less than 3 years. This stuff like, right now, this is, I believe it's 1080p. You're going to get 4K camera, 4K video. You're going to get 8K video. I mean, stuff is already out there, and it's just insane. It's going to take over. Things are just going to get bigger and better.
That is pretty crazy to think about, the 4K and 8K videos like being the norm, because you see them now sometimes and they're really impressive. So to think of that acceleration and those becoming common will be very interesting. One of the other things I've been seeing in offices is obviously phone booths and that type of privacy, but also Zoom rooms where they have like specialized lighting and, very good acoustics and privacy and things like that. Have you been seeing or installing any of those yet?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, a lot of rooms, a lot of echo. There's, you got to treat it with the fabrics. You got to make sure that the sound is deadening when it comes out, and it just goes through the mics. And you're seeing a lot of different types of video conferencing equipment as well, like table mics, ceiling mics, speakers on the wall, speakers in the ceiling, speakers on the table. There's a lot of different types of technology, a lot of different microphone arrays, a lot of different types of cameras at all different resolutions. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of those types of rooms. A lot of Zoom rooms are out there, and they're just growing. One of the biggest things that I feel is missing is what I hate about video conferencing is there's a part of character that's missing that you missed of being in front of a person. But I have a feeling that they're going to get some kind of emotion built into this where it doesn't seem as static. It's going to be more dynamic, and I have a feeling that they're going to develop something where it's going to feel like we're in person sooner or later.
Like VR?
Very close to it.
Yeah.
Very close to VR.
Crazy.
Very close to it. Very close. I think that's the direction it's going, and as resolution increases, it's going to feel like we're there. But I think with the hybrid setup, I think a lot of offices, they got to do things to save the culture. What I found that was hard during the pandemic is if I have a great idea and I'm trying to reach Jeff, I'm calling him, I'm texting him, I'm emailing him, and I can't get him on the phone. And next thing you know, it's like 3 hours later, he's like, oh, I was on back-to-back Zooms, conference calls, this and that. And, the momentum of that idea that I had in my head, it's kind of halted. It's kind of hit a snag in the road. And, it's different when we're all in the office. I can go over there and tap him on the shoulder while he's got 5 minutes before his next call and say, listen, I got this great idea. What do you think of this? How would you approach it? And, I would get an instant response from that. And, we're missing that now. And I miss going into the office. I miss socializing with people, but it's coming back, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way, especially with the momentum in the city. And I think some of the projects we've been doing, we spoke yesterday about a big project we're working on where we're going to be receiving items into the warehouse and setting up hoteling, standardized desks for employees. So I think that is going to really accelerate and become very common over the summer. And then, hopefully in the fall time or maybe closer to the end of the year, we start to see more people in the office. But either way, I think we're definitely heading in the right direction. And I think it's good for companies to know that the Advance Group is here to help and really service them, whether it is from the office moving and furniture aspect or the IT, where Greg can be a big help. The fact that they know we're out there and can service them regardless of location is very valuable. So, Greg, I just want to thank you for coming on today. I think this was very valuable. We had to do this digitally, but I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing you soon, getting back in the city and working on these projects together.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me know whatever you need from me. I'm always a phone call away, a text. As for any clients that are listening to this, if you need any consultation, I'm always available back in the city 4 to 5 days a week. Be more than happy to stop by your office to talk tech with you. I could really bend your ear about tech, so make sure you set enough time aside for me.
All right, that sounds good. Thanks again, Greg. We'll talk soon, okay?
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Take care.
Thank you again for joining us on Moving into the Future. On our next episode in our Return to Office series, we're going to discuss the most up-to-date current events in Return to Office and also discuss about how we can help companies who haven't gotten started with their return to office plans and are feeling a little bit behind the 8 ball, getting them caught up to speed. Thanks again for joining, everybody. We'll talk soon on the next episode.
Be sure to subscribe to our podcast at theadvancedgrp.com. That's theadvancedgrp.com.